many of you look like that trying to get on the floor? Or how many of you are scared of getting on the floor because you're not quite sure if you're going to get back up? This video, I'm going to show you 5 exercises to master getting up and down from the floor, even if you have arthritis. And just a caveat, exercise number 5 is one of my favorites because a lot of people think they can't even do it with arthritis. So make sure you stay tuned until the end. Let's get started. These 5 exercises are going to help you master getting up from the floor, because I know a lot of us avoid getting up and down from the floor because you don't know if you can get back up. So when I work with people all the time, that is one of the main goals. Whether you're playing with your grandkids on the floor, you're gardening, this position is very important, and I want you to build the strength to be able to get up from this position. But we also have to be nice to our joints, because a lot of times if we have arthritis, movements like lunges and squats might not be the most comfortable or the most feasible right now. But no worries, because there are ways that we can get around that. And so I'm going to show you these 5 things. So all you're going to need is a set of dumbbells and an elevated surface or a step. So I'm going to use right here. And I'm just going to set the dumbbells to the side for right now. Okay, so one of the first things that we need to be able to do is build the strength. So essentially getting up from the floor is building the strength to do a deep lunge. Now I know a lot of times that's not the most comfortable position for us. So our goal is to work towards that, but being nice to our joints along the way. So the very first one, you're gonna need 2 dumbbells. You can also use, I always like to use like rolled up ankle weights or something that just is able to lift your heels up. I like the dumbbells with the octagon shaped heads because those, when they're on the ground, they're not going to move. If you have weights that have circles for heads, that might be a little bit dangerous for this one. But for this one, so you have a couple options. This is a heel elevated squat. Now, you can just use these dumbbells here. If you don't have dumbbells with the octagon shaped heads, you can use, so right here I have kind of a little bit of an elevated surface. It's not a full step because that might be a little bit much. It's not a full step, but I can at least elevate my heels. So if you can find something in your home, we have to get a little creative sometimes, that's going to elevate your heels. So all you're going to do, if you have dumbbells, you're going to step on them. Toes are on the ground, heels are up in the air. Now, what you're going to do is you're just going to squat down. But what this does is this is going to bring, I'll show you from the side, this is going to give a little bit of a nicer angle for our knees compared to other types of squats, especially if our feet are on the ground. This is one that we can use to start with, squatting down and then coming up. So all you're doing is squatting down and standing up. But if you notice that when your heels are elevated, you can go a little bit deeper, because if you step away and try to squat, our first motion is in the knees. We want to be in the hips, and having our heels elevated does help with this. So this is an exercise I'd like to start with because it can make squatting seem less scary. Because when we're trying to get up and down from the floor, we want to get some depth. Doing squats like this isn't going to get us there. We need to get some depth. So number 1 is a heel elevated squat. Do between 8 to 10, but I really want you to challenge that lower range of motion. Now, if you're just starting out, just go to wherever is comfortable for you. But I want you to see if you can slowly start to work your way down, bending the hips first and then sitting back. So this is number 1, a heel elevated squat. Once we have that, the second one, we're going to use our step. So we're going to put the dumbbells to the side for a second, and we're going to use a step. Now I'm going to show you this one from sideways. Ideally, you want a step that's not very high. So a typical step in your home probably will work. But one of the things, you can start on a lower surface too. So if you have, like I have these cement blocks out here that have different heights, that is ideal to start, but if not, that's okay. Most people I have start with this on a step. Now what you're going to do is you're going to put one foot on the step behind. Now you're going to press back just like this. You're pressing back with that leg that's on the step so both feet come on. This is challenging that little bit more of a knee bend, but now we're on one leg. And the good thing about this one is that it is nicer to the knees, helps with low back, hip, all of these aches and pains in these joints. It does wonders for helping. So that is the second one. So I would do anywhere between 10 to 15 of these. Start on a lower surface if you need to, but progress up to a little bit higher one because that's going to get us closer to getting up and down from the floor. Now, number 3 is a front foot elevated lunge. So you can do a couple of things. You can just use this step, the height, whichever you want to start with. All you're going to do is put one foot on top of the step. Go a little bit lower if you need to. That's honestly going to make it a little harder. So start on a little bit higher one for this one. Now you're going to come down and press up. Come down and press up. Come down, bending both knees. That back heel does not need to stay on the ground, and come up. This is a nicer version of a lunge, especially when we're starting out. Coming down and pressing up. Down and pressing up, and then you're going to switch sides. Come down and press up. Down and press up. Once you have that, you can go a little bit lower. So if you go to the lower step, it's going to be a little bit harder because now you have a little bit more range of motion that it's allowing for. So I would stick to about 12 to 15. Try to go a little bit higher reps with these. 12 to 15 on each side. If you do have one side that's a little bit harder or a little bit weaker than the other, focus more on that side. And then you can do maybe 15 reps on that side and maybe 12 on the other, just so we add a little bit more focus on that side. So that's number 3. We have 2 more. And the last one is a really good one, so I want you to stay till the very end. Okay, so number 4, you're going to use these dumbbells. Okay, now, with these dumbbells, you're going to hold on to them at your sides. When we come down, so we're essentially adding a little bit of a weight to a squat. So we're doing that same, thinking about those same squat mechanics when our heels were elevated. Now that doesn't mean I want you on your toes. Now our heels are on the ground because this is something we need to do and we need to be good at. So hang on to those weights right by your side. Hips bend first. Come down, come up. Hips bend first. Come down, come up. So you're essentially just adding a little bit of weight to a squat because our feet and legs have to work a little bit harder when we have that extra weight. So hips first. I want you to look straight ahead as you do this and squeeze those glutes at the top. Come down, squeeze those glutes at the top. Okay, so this is number 4. If you need to, you can use a chair. Sit back to a chair and stand up. Hips bend back to a chair and stand up. But notice my full foot's on the ground. So it's not just that heel elevated. Now our full foot is on the ground because when we stand up, our full foot's going to be on the ground. Okay. I would try to master at least 15 of those. To master those lighter weights, starting at 5 to 10 pounds in each hand, I always challenge people to go up at least 10 pounds from where you were. So with 10 pounds in each hand, 20 pounds total. The next step would be to go up to 30 pounds total or 15 in each hand. If you do that, you may need to decrease the amount of repetitions that you do. So if you were doing 12 to 15 with the lighter set, try 8 to 10 with the heavier set. It is totally natural. The heavier you go, the less reps you can do. Totally fine. Okay, now number 5 is one of my favorite because it's one of those ones that people don't typically even think they can do with arthritis. But when we're trying to get up and down from the floor, power is our friend. That's strength with speed, so generating strength quickly. So starting out, you're going to put one foot in front and one foot behind, not necessarily in a lunge position to start. You're going to focus on pushing through this leg as hard as you can, bringing that opposite arm, powering up. Powering up. This can be a little hard on balance at first, so if you need to, you can hang on to something. Power up. Power up. I want you to think about pushing through this leg as hard as you can. Instead of just bringing that leg up, I want you to bring it up with force. Once you can do about 12 to 15 of these, then I want you to progress to trying to clear the floor. Same exact thing, but now you're jumping. So now you need even more power to get that foot off the ground. Again, starting out with support for this one too can really help build some confidence, and then once you feel safe that you're able to do it without holding on, then try to do it without. You can just start out slow at first, and then you can really add some power to it. But I do encourage you to at least try a day with just doing this one, powering up, to make sure our joints do get a chance to acclimate to a more powerful movement before we then try to jump. But I have so many people that have success with the jumping part that once you can get the power to do about 12 at a time on one side, and then you're going to switch to the other, same thing. Once you get the power to do that, that's when we start to open up doors to other exercises, other activities besides getting up and down from the floor, but that is one of them. So once you can master these 5 exercises, then getting up and down from the floor should become easier. One of the caveats being this is typically like a 4 to maybe even 6 week process, as everyone's different. So we can't just do this for a week and then hope that magically we can get up and down from the floor. It's all about consistency, and I always tell people, remember those small wins. That even a week after doing these exercises, maybe you can get up and down the stairs just a little bit easier, or maybe you don't have as much pain walking, or maybe you don't have as much pain going up or down the stairs. These are things that you can use to show that you're making progress, because it's not always going to be this huge leap in progress. And that's the hard thing about arthritis. But the people that have the most success are those that that see those small wins, and that's what keeps them going. So stay with this process. Give it about 4 to 6 weeks of very consistent exercise. If you need a plan that's going to tell you each day what you need to do for the next 6, 8, even 10 weeks, I do have a program, a knee osteoarthritis program I just relaunched, and it is going to help you not only get up and down from the floor, but it's going to open gates to potentially running, doing more jumping, doing higher impact exercise despite knee arthritis. And that is a 10-week program that's going to tell you every single day what to do and how to progress. So if you're one of those people that do much better when you're told how or when to do something, this is the program for you, and the link is down below. So I hope that you enjoyed these 5 exercises and give them a try. Listen to your body, go gradually, and this is just the beginning of your arthritis adventure.